Why is letting go of some control so important? So in order to understand this, we need to first look at what happens when we don't let go and we're just holding on so tight. What usually happens is we upset our family, our friends, people at work, because we have to have it done our way. And if it's not done our way, we get really upset. We get angry at our friends. And you can even feel it in your body if you're aware of it. But very often, we're so caught up in the drama and the scene of what we're trying to control and hold on to and steer it our way, that we don't even realize that we're upsetting the people around us. And in the process of not seeing the bigger picture, we make bad decisions because we have bad clarity, bad decisions, and we look at our co-workers or our family as if they're crazy, all because we're so wedded to our own ideas. I know this firsthand from myself because I used to have to argue a point and control things in a certain way, that it's got to be my way or the highway.
I'm telling you straight. It's my way or the highway.
So in lieu of all the negative problems and issues we have with having it our way, quote unquote, we can see the benefits of what happens when we actually let go of what we're holding on so tightly to. What happens is we have better relationships. We become more connected to the people we're working with, or our loved ones, our partners, our children, or any friendships that we may be involved in. When we let go, we gain clarity to see a bigger picture, because we're not so wedded to our ego and our own egotistical ideas of how we think that it has to be. We become more strategic in our decision making, making better decisions, since we're more flexible and opening to seeing the wider picture. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to take a pen and I want you to hold it in your hand and hold it really tightly. Squeeze it as hard as you can. Feel that stress in your hand and in your arm. And if I would give you a maths problem or any problem to solve, what you're really fetching, you're really holding on tight to that pen, how well are you going to see that problem? How well are you going to relate to your friends while you're in pain in your arm because you're holding on so tightly? Is it possible you might really upset your friends? Is it possible that you might really lose clarity and have things skewed? I would say yes. Now, I want you to just drop the pen. Feel the release in your hand and in your arm, and feel as your body is now releasing that angst and that negativity and that stress in your body. That's what happens when you let go of what you're holding on to so tightly. Just like a pen, it happens in life. It happens with your thoughts. It happens in your relationships. It happens when you're co-workers. When you give yourself and the other person room to live and let live and agree to disagree, it doesn't always have to be your way. And the only reason I got myself in so much trouble with my own friends and my co-workers in the past was because I had to have it my way. And when people didn't do things or say things the way I wanted it to, I got myself in a lot of trouble. But not anymore. Not after I show you of what you need to do when you feel that tension or that anger or that disagreement rising up. I'm going to teach you a technique based on a person who taught the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. And I'm going to take you into a PowerPoint presentation and show you how you can turn your life around. Okay, I'm about to take you into the PowerPoint presentation, and I'd like to show you a few things, not just only this 5-second rule that I just mentioned, but also about how our thoughts create this illusion that we call life. And if I just point you over here, our reflection in the mirror is merely a representation of who we are. So too our thoughts are just a mere representation of experience, but not the essence of life, not the essence of experience itself. We use our eyes and our ears and all our 5 senses to take data in through our brain, and we process it via thought. But what we think of what is going on out there is not the full picture. This world is like a divine dream. So in this divine dream, before it was created, There was just the source, the essence, God, as we call it. This is called the formless, the oneness. I call it God. And then he created something called an empty space. That was where he contracted himself so he would be, so to speak, missing in this world called creation. And in that world of creation is where our form, our ego is. We have streams of consciousness, of thought in the moment that create this divine illusion called life that we're in. But really, it just is one big divine illusion. As we say in our prayers, Shir Amalis B'Shir Hashem Es Shiva Sin Hayinu Kechol Mem, that sing the song of ascents, when Hashem will return us from the captives of Zion, we'll see that we're dreamers. In the final end, when we get to the crescendo of the world, where we believe that Mashiach will come, it'll be a perfect world, we'll see how this whole existence was just one divine dream. And our job in this divine dream is to navigate within the darkness to bring the light of the oneness into the world. And that's, we're bringing in the essence of spirituality into the ego, into the form of what this world is. And we get caught up in the drama of the world. So let's just see how the misunderstanding of life takes place. This introduces us to what we call the inside-out paradigm. And usually there's a misunderstanding, because I think that if you come along and you, let's say, hit me, so that'll be the circumstances over here, you hit me, I have a bad feeling towards you because you hit me. But I don't realize that thought in the moment also has an effect on my experience of what you said or what you did to me or whatever happened out there. The misunderstanding is that I left thought out in the moment. I left out the divine providence in the moment. So what I do is, when I get really tense up and I get myself where I'm feeling really angry or stressed, or I'm just holding on to something that I don't want to let go, and I'm really wedded to my own idea, I just say to myself, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and my head turns around from a locked mindset to what I call a growth mindset. So if I just go back there for a second, you'll see there's a little lock over here. The lock on here is because I'm locked into my own thinking, and I don't even realize that it's my thinking that's creating my experience. And then I 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to myself. I say that like I'm blasting off and turning my head around into openness and growth, into something new. It's called the inside out perspective of life, that we work within the rules of how life works rather than being on the outside in the darkness, quote unquote. And that is that I realize, oh yes, there are circumstances which we call hashgacha pratis, it means divine providence, that things happen in the world that are beyond my control. They're godly created, and I can't always change that. And that gives birth, that's a catalyst for my thought of those circumstances in the moment, that gives birth to my feelings. Now, once I realize, oh, I can't always change the circumstances, sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. But the thought in the moment and the feeling, well, they're not permanent. They're created by me. The circumstances, not always created by me, by people out there. But again, I can't always change that either. Once I realize that, I'm looking towards the source of the circumstance, the divine providence that plays the role in the circumstance. I could have a new thought. Oh, well, maybe the reason you hit me is because you were in a bad mood that day, or maybe you just brushed me with your hand. You didn't even mean to. It could be a million reasons. The guy that cuts you off on the street, assume positive intent. Maybe he's just in a rush to get to his job. Maybe something really bad happened at home. We don't always have to assume the worst. In fact, I would advise you for the next 24 hours or more, assume all those people around you have positive intent, and they're trying their best to do what they can with the limited thinking they've got. And when you realize that, you might have a new thought. You might take a different action, coming from a space of understanding to a wider picture, rather than being locked in, having it controlled in your way. You're now open to something new. You might say, after saying to yourself, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, okay, just get back on task and stay focused on what needs to be done rather than getting caught up in the drama. Or if you're at a meeting with somebody and somebody said something that triggered you, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, don't say anything. Just keep quiet. When you do that, you're operating at a higher plane. You're re-guiding yourself from being reactional to responsible, to think responsibly, to act responsibly, or say nothing, which could also be very responsible as well. And this is based on something in a book called the Tanya in chapter 2, which says the brain rules over our heart. That sometimes I get, into my feelings that come from my heart, and I get very reactional. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Brain rule over heart. Okay, let's take charge over it. Let's not get caught up in the scene. Let's not get caught up in the drama. Let's just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and go in a new direction and turn around. And this leads to what I call the growth mindset. When you turn around from the drama and you look towards the divine providence, the godly supervision that created circumstances that are not always in your control, you move into what Caroline Dweck calls a growth mindset. It allows you to live in a less stressful and a more successful life because you're not so wedded and you're not holding on so tightly to what you thought was absolutely right. And as I say, in a relationship with people, it's not always what's right and what's wrong that counts. It's what works. Sure, we have rights and we have wrongs, and we need to stick to the rules. But sometimes, do we have to be so holding on so strongly and wedded to those ideas? So when you are in a state of a growth mindset, you can embrace challenges. You persist in the face of setbacks. You see effort as a path to mastery. Okay, let's make an effort. Let's work forward. Made a mistake, didn't work out my way. Let's try again. Let's try and do a new action. You're not so wedded to your ideas anymore. You can learn from criticism. And you find the lessons and inspiration in success in others. You can celebrate the success of others. Somebody else doing well when you didn't doesn't make you jealous anymore because you're in a state of growth and you celebrate everyone's successes, including your own. And as a result, you yourself will reach to a higher level of achievement and you feel a greater sense of free will. Whereas when you're holding on really tightly and you're caught in the drama over, you're locked in, your intelligence is not moving forward, it's actually locked and it's static. It doesn't move. This leads to a desire to look smart with the brains that you've been blessed with. And you better have a lot of brains because with that attitude, you can't cultivate your intelligence anymore. So hope for the best that you've got a lot of intelligence because if you don't, then you'll avoid challenges. You'll easily give up. You'll see effort as fruitless or worse. You'll ignore any negative criticism and feedback you get because you're not a receptacle for it because you're just locked in to a certain mindset because it's got to be my way or the highway. And hey, I don't want to look bad. And on the contrary, I feel threatened when other people score points at work and I don't because, hey, I don't look good now. As a result, your results and the level you get you'll get to what we call a glass ceiling. And you won't fulfill your full potential because you take on what we call a deterministic view of the world. Things are locked and they can't change. They're preordained and can never change, and that's it. And it's not true. So again, when we're looking in the form, in the ego, and we're caught up in the story and the drama, we're locked over here. And that's part of the game of our existence of why it was created. Because the Creator, the oneness, wants us to rise above the form and turn around into a growth mindset to look at the source and realize, hey, this is a test. This is a challenge. So the challenge for you is, in the next 24 hours, as I said, I want you to try and assume good intent. When you get caught up in your own emotions and the drama of life and you're getting really stressed out, say to yourself, don't say it aloud, otherwise people think you're mad. Just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and do that metaphorical head turn from a locked mindset to an open, free, refreshing, ready to see the new. Look at the divine on how it's been created and you're in a circumstance and it's there for you to grow. If you like this, please click on a thumbs up. That would mean a lot to me also if you would click on the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest tips and tricks on how to have a better life with more peace, happiness, and actually more control by ironically letting go of that control.